looking at the journey of Nigeria in the 25 years of unbroken democracy. Specifically on May 29, 1999, Nigeria returned to civil rule and was led by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Since then, the date was celebrated as Nigeria's Democracy Day, however, in honor of the champion of the return to democracy who paid supreme sacrifice in the struggle, that's late Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, the acclaimed winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, regarded as the freest and fairest in the annals of Nigeria's electoral system. The date for the celebration of democracy was shifted to June 12 to honor him, and that has remained so up until now, while May 29 was retained as inauguration day. So the media is regarded as the watchdog of society, and some have also remarked that without the media, there won't be sustainable and effective democracy. That's why today our focus is on the 25 years of unbroken democracy and the role the media has been playing. And joining me in the conversation are two eminent media scholars and academics. I'm being joined by Dr. Tunde Fajimbola from Elizabeth University, Laramokin. Thank you so much for joining me.
The program.
And also here is a media scholar, journalist, and lecturer, Dr. Olubenga Abimbola. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
The pleasure is mine.
Let me start from you. If you look at the journey so far, 25 years is not a tea party, if you ask me. Would you say it's been so far so good or so far manageable?
Well, I would opt for the latter. So far manageable. We can say that we have a civil rule, but we don't yet have democracy.
We have a civil rule.
Yes.
We don't yet have a democracy. Let's know more.
Now, civil rule is a government of elected representatives. Of course, that is the symbol of democracy, elected representatives. But you know that the kind of leadership we have, the way we are being governed, in fact, it is only that those who are leading are not wearing khaki. That is why I said we have civil rule. We are doing elections. Even the elections we do is like war. The elections we do, the cost is so huge. Then the participation of the citizens in governance, which is part of the symbols of democracy, is minimal. So we only elect leaders who becomes our rulers, and they lord it over us. But it is still election. It's still our choice. We still have some choice, so to say. That's why I said we have civil rule, 25 years of civil rule, but we are yet to really embrace democracy in the real sense of it. Those of us who are not political scientists like Dr. Fajimbola, we always know that democracy is the government of the majority, whereby their citizens, they are allowed to participate in governance by determining who governs them, and also determining how they are being governed, and they can ask questions. But in Nigeria, it's like we don't yet have those principles. We only choose leaders. Even sometimes when we want to choose leaders lord them over us to choose them. We don't even have choice. And once they get there, they become our rulers, and we don't ask them questions. They are not accountable to us, so to say.
It's also a function of followership.
Yes, when people talk about followership, I always say that everything rises and falls on the leadership, according to John C. Maxwell. Followers, they don't have a name. It is the leaders that have a name. They are the ones we don't really have people who love us. In the last 25 years, if you take a look at it, at the federal, state, and local government, for now, local governments are non-existent. In most states of the federation, they only exist in names. They are not functioning. So in the last 25 years, we have been seeing bogus government, but lean governance. We are not really
bogus government, but lean governance.
We are not really seeing
so much are really bringing.
And that's why I'm saying that we have civil rule and not democracy is that because politicians, they deceive or they say that we are giving you the dividends of democracy. I always challenge them that they have not given us the dividends. Because are they talking of building roads? Military regime, they built more roads. Are they talking of providing electricity? Military regime, they provided electricity infrastructure. Those are not the dividends. The dividends of democracy is the participation we have in governance, the freedom we have to choose and to speak and to hold government accountable to us, which we didn't have under military. And so this civilian rule now, they have not given us that freedom. They have not really allowed us. And the constitution itself is faulty. We will talk about them when we begin to assess this democracy that has not really far. That's why I said so far, so manageable.
Well, that in his own estimation, it's so far so manageable. Dr. Fajimbola, it seems Dr. Fajimbola wants to dissect and reappraise the postulations of Professor Evida is in 1887 that the rule of law must sit on the equality before the law, that must be the rule of law, and all of those. But he's saying that we've only had civil rule and not democracy. Let me, from your perspective as a political scientist, let me know if it's so far so good or so far manageable too.
Well, let me first say that Dr. Abimbola has set the base, and he has been able to provide the framework for us to understand the democracy that we are having in this country and the nature of that democracy. For us in academics, we are used to look at problems from three layers: the ideal of it, the reality, and the gaps. So what is the distance or difference or the gap between the reality and the ideal? Dr. Abimbola has pointed out the ideal of democracy, and every element, every substance has its own ideal. It also has the reality of it, and the fact that the reality is not yet the composition or the embodiment of the ideal does not mean that that particular substance is not yet the substance. It still has the element of the substance. And what I'm trying to point to is the fact that although we may have deficiencies in the implementation, in the embracement, and in the functionality of democracy, but the truth of the matter is that democracy is operational in Nigeria. And that is because
democracy is operational in Nigeria,
yes,
not just civil rule.
That's why I try to have a preamble to the point I've made, that when we have a substance, we may have the ideal, the ideal of any particular
so in other words, what we have is not the ideal democracy, but the substance of democracy.
No. Dr. Abimbola is actually pointed out the ideal of democracy. And the fact that the ideal is not there actually does not mean that democracy is not in the system. That is the point I'm trying to. And the reason for that is that democracy is a system of government that emerged to challenge other systems of government, to challenge aristocracy, to challenge one-man rule. And so when we have government of one, which is monarch, government of few, aristocratic government, and we now have government of many, which is democracy. And in Nigeria, we have government of many. But how this government of many is understood and is being practiced may be subject to some challenges, and these challenges we may still look at in the course of this.
Of course,
but democracy is in existence in Nigeria.
In other words, can we really say that the aspirations of the champions of democracy, like late MKO Abiola, like Chief Anthony Enauro, like Lani Akinrade, and many more like that, can we say that they will be pleased with what we have currently? You've stated your position on this matter, that for you, it's been a lot of civil rule as against democracy. He's saying that it does not matter, it's still democracy, a government of many, government by many for all of us, so it's still democracy in his own estimation. So do you think there are things to really celebrate? We rolled out the drums yesterday saying it's been 25 years. Isn't it a case of stunted growth or commendable improvement?
Thank you. Dr. Fajibola and I, we are still saying the same thing. Because when I was hammering civil rule, civil rule is more or less element of democracy. That is, you are not being ruled by force. It has defined democracy vis-a-vis as against other forms of government. And so, what I'm saying is that in Nigeria, the ideal democracy, we are not yet there. He agreed with me. But he is saying that the reality of it, the substance of it is there. I agree with him. But now, let's take a look at it. The truth is that our forefathers, those who have gone and those who are still alive, those who have gone, this is not what they planned for. This was not their dream. Those who are still alive, like Pade Banjo, like the old folks that are still there, who witnessed democracy at the inception. During, I mean, even before our independence, they witnessed oppression. And they now witness self-governance from 1960 to date. They will tell you that this is not what they bargained for. Now, the first thing we should look at is that, are you saying that we should not celebrate? I would say we should celebrate.
Okay.
We should celebrate. That I'm saying that we have not yet attained ideal democracy does not mean that what we have now is inferior to military rule. No.
Okay.
In fact, some people will say that the worst civilian rule is better than the military government. Mm-hmm. So for now, we should still celebrate. At least we can change leaders every 4 years. Mm-hmm. Whether we change them by our will or not by our will. That was not to be during military. Mm-hmm.